You are now in tune with the community on 318 Latino. Meet interesting people who make our community great. Hear their stories, check out their projects.
Gracias.
Nowadays, we have such a horrible tendency to give in to fear. And as Americans and as people, we need to stop that. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. Mario Chavez, the first commissioner of Caddo Parish, the first Latino commissioner of Caddo Parish since 2016, I believe.
That's when I was elected, yes. But historically, I was the first Latino commissioner, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
But that's a long story. We'll get into that another day.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today, Mr. Mario. I know you have a very busy schedule, and I'm very glad that we have you here, and we're going to talk about taking ownership over life situations today.
I love it, and thank you for the invite, Ryan.
Absolutely. Before we get started, let me give thanks to our sponsor right quick. To us, it is very important to educate ourselves, and our sponsor today is LSUS, the University of Shreveport, the Louisiana University of Shreveport. So for those of you who are looking into scholarships, don't forget to visit lsu.academyworks.com. You're going to learn more about their scholarships, or give them an email at scholarships@lsus.com. Go ahead.
Really quick, Brian, on that sponsorship, a lot of people don't know, but just with local entrepreneurs and business owners, they have this class down there that you can take something like an idea, and the students at LSUS will actually prototype that idea, and it gives them the availability to work on the things that they're doing there, like 3D imaging and printing, and they have their own entire fabrication shop within LSUS that they allow the students to use at no charge to get the training that they need and to get the local businesses the prototypes that they need to further their business model. So really cool. That's awesome. A lot of people don't know there's really cool things they're doing over there.
We're definitely going to look more into that. We're going to do a whole
take a field trip over
information. I definitely need to. Thank you so much for that. Definitely. See, that's why we bring him in. And all right, Mr. Chavez, again, thank you for being here today. So before we start, tell us a little bit about your roots, where you came from. I know you came to Shreveport about 1995.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So tell us a little bit about your bringing up and how you came up to be the commissioner of Shreveport.
Absolutely.
Caddo Parish.
Come from California. We moved here in 95, like you said. General Motors closed down in Van Nuys, California. My father worked at GM all his life, and he was given the option to move either Shreveport, Louisiana, Tennessee, or Canada. He had never been to any of the three, so he felt, I'm going to go to Louisiana because it's the warmest. Didn't know what humidity was, obviously, so when we moved here, whole different kind of warm in Southern California. But I really enjoyed moving here. I really like this city. The abnormal thing about Shreveport and the South in general is the friendliness. People welcome you here. I remember driving through the city streets when we first moved here, and people waving. And in California, you don't wave at people. You don't talk to people. You don't look at people. You kind of keep to yourself.
That Southern hospitality, you know.
Like in California, people are waving at you, try to get your attention. They probably want something like some money, or they want to steal some stuff from you. So it's funny because I would tell my dad, "Hey, you know those guys?" He said, "No, it's just this thing people do down here. They're friendly." So I loved it. I took right to the Shreveport and the Southern hospitality lifestyle. And going to the high school here, it was a big culture shock. When I showed up, I had long hair and I wore big baggy pants, like the Southern California attire. Shopped at a thrift store because it was cool. Whereas here it was a lot different. There was the preppy name brand shirts and pants, things like Tommy Hilfiger and Jabos. I had never heard of in my life. I had to laugh because I had some friends that I made, and they were telling me the shirt cost $75. I'm thinking, you're crazy for spending $75 on a shirt. You get at a thrift store for $1.50. It was just the way that we lived in Southern California. We rode skateboards and whatnot. But got into some trouble, fell into the wrong crowd. And then it's always, if you look at your circle, and a lot of people say your success is going to be dependent on the 5 people that you hang out with the most. If you hang out with 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th. And unfortunately, if you hang out with 5 drug addicts, you will be the 6th.
Right.
So I fell into the wrong crowd and started doing the things that the wrong crowd did. Ended up spending some time in jail, actually. And I love the story because in jail is where I found Jesus. And that's where my life kind of turned around, and I realized that I'm going down the wrong path. I have the wrong friends. I'm doing everything the wrong way. I'm ready to kind of turn my life around. And as a Hispanic Latino, we're big on family culture.
Absolutely.
So my family their heart would hurt for me when I was out in the streets hanging with the wrong people. And my dad, real good guy, he would try to steer me back into the family, into hard work. And one of the biggest things is when I got out of jail, I felt like I disappointed him. And he was still like the biblical story of the prodigal son. He wasn't going to give up on me. He wanted me to join this Youth Challenge program where it was state sponsored through the Louisiana National Guard, and they send you to a 5-month boot camp, so to speak, but it also allows you to get your GED, teaches some life coping skills, really how to work with other people from different areas. They bring in kids from all over the state of Louisiana. And I said kids, you have to be from 16 to 18 years old, so to us, they're still kids.
Yeah.
But I went in that program, and when I joined the program, I decided, and it's always a decision. Nobody can make that for you. It comes to a point in your life when you have to make the decision for yourself that you want more for yourself. And at that point is when I decided that I let my dad down. I want to be the best version of myself that I can be. So I pushed through the entire 5 months, and I ended up graduating as the cadet of the cycle. So out of 300 cadets, I was the one that they picked. That was similar to the valedictorian if you're going to graduate from college. It was really cool. When I graduated, I was offered an internship in the White House. A lot of really cool doors open. I got to meet General Colin Powell. I actually got to eat lunch with the guy.
Oh,
I got
cool.
to eat lunch with him and the Sergeant Major of the Louisiana National Guard. And this is kind of cool. One day I know I'll write a book on this. But after you are successful, or after you really try hard, the fruits of your labor will be shown. A good tree bears much fruit. And I remember sitting down with the Sergeant Major of the Louisiana National Guard and Colin Powell, and we were at Red Lobster, and we were down in Alexandria, and there was the lobster tank where they have those lobsters, and you could pick one to eat one. And I remember him saying, you can get the lobster. And that's important because at the end of the day, a lot of people, they want to eat the lobster, but they don't want to put in the 5 months of work. If you put in the hard work, if you make that decision for yourself, at the end of the day, you will get to eat the lobster. It will come. So,
absolutely. So, when did you start getting into politics?
Here's a funny thing. So, after I got out of the National Guard sponsored program, I had this natural progression where I wanted to join the National Guard because, just like I said, when you hang out with those 5 millionaires, the people, our cadre, the people that were in charge of us, they were all National Guardsmen. So I looked at them as the leaders. I love the uniform. I love that they were put together. I love that they got up early every day. They were doing physical fitness. They cared about every aspect of their life. So naturally,
balance.
Yes, it's all about balance. When I see them as the leader, and that's who I want to emulate, that's when I realize, I want to join the National Guard because I want to be like those guys who I see as a leader, who I see as a role model. I think that's a big issue with today. Is a lot of the kids in the streets, they don't have those role models.
Right.
Their role model is unfortunately the guy that is making the money, that's making the money illegally. If that's all they see as the role model, then actually that's what they're going to gravitate.
Right.
That's who they're going to try to emulate.
Right.
Well, I saw a better role model. I was taken out of my environment and shown what a real role model looks like. So I joined the National Guard and I learned satellite communication and GPS tracking. Because I dropped out of high school, I didn't have a good foundation in regards to education. So I wanted something that was high tech that could carry me over to a career or employment. And I knew high tech, satellite communication, GPS tracking. I knew computer, fiber optics. I know that's the way of the future. It still is today. But 25 years ago, that was the job that I wanted. When you join the military, you can kind of pick your job. You can be a truck driver. You can be an infantry man. That's what I wanted to be. So I went off to school to learn that. I did that for 12 years in the Louisiana National Guard. And in the duration of those 12 years, about my 6th year, I wanted to get into business. I wanted to start a business. And I used my training that I learned in the military to start a credit card processing company or a sales office for a processing company where we install point-of-sale systems for businesses. The name of the industry is merchant services. A lot of people have no idea what that means. But basically, if you walk into like a yogurt store or a restaurant and you see them with a touchscreen system taking orders and printing in the kitchen, taking your credit card and swiping it, my company takes the money out of your checking account and puts it into the checking account of the yogurt shop or the restaurant. We do that now across thousands of different customers. We do it online for websites. We do it across physical applications on point of sales, and we even do software development. So we've come a long way. But in the process of that, and this is one thing that's very important, a lot of people think that business owners are wealthy right off the bat, or life is easy. No, it's actually the exact opposite. Typically, that struggling business owner that's only been in business for a year, 2 years, let's say less than 5 years. Things are tough. It's tough to be in business. You're an entrepreneur yourself. So I had to laugh when I first got in business, the calls that I would get for sponsorships or donations, and I always got this, well, you can write it off. Look, you need money to write off. If I'm not making any money, it's hard to do that.
Right.
But if you work at something hard enough, you're going to be successful. Well, at the time, I believed in our local sheriff, and I was asked to do a campaign donation set up for him with laptops to take credit cards so that people, when they were coming to the fundraiser, they could donate. Well, I said, sure, because I don't have money to donate, but I have time. I can donate my time. So I set up 4 different laptops at the event. I had deputies that were working there. They were manning their laptops, and we were taking campaign donations. I had never, ever thought about being in politics. It was never even a thought in my mind. Matter of fact, I didn't even know who my city councilman was. I think at the time I was 34 years old, young kid, and all I was focusing on was trying to become a successful business owner. And of course, when you're a young, successful business owner, or what you want to be successful, you're chasing money.
Right.
Let's be honest. At the end of the day, that changes. And that changes obviously now to where I realize my goal is not just making money. My goal is I look out at my parking lot and I have 5 employees and they have brand new cars. And my goal is to make them successful because they have families and they have responsibilities. And if I just sat down and didn't work harder, what would happen to them and their employment? Right. So it's a transition, but that's life. That's the beauty of it is you have to focus on where you're currently at in that certain scenario. Well, in that scenario, I was only at the point where I could donate time, not money. It's funny because a lady had walked up to me and she asked me about my laptops and she said, how much are you charging the sheriff for all this? And I told her I was doing it for free. So, of course, she got really excited. And she said, how come? And I told her about I couldn't afford it, but I believed in him. She's like, oh, that's great. Where do you live? And I told her the neighborhood I lived in. And she said, what do you think about the neighborhood? I said, I think the neighborhood stinks. And the funny thing was, and I was just being honest. Right. Can't go wrong being honest. And the reason that I thought the neighborhood stunk was because the longer I had lived there, I had lived there ever since I moved from California, some 15 years prior, the neighborhood had gone down. A lot of crime had gotten increased, property values had decreased, and there was just a lot of trash. And I know this is crazy, and I often preach on litter, but litter really bugs me. I had a wise friend once tell me, if you're going to do a business deal with somebody, before you do that business deal, drive over to their home and look at their front yard. And it's funny because you think, why? Well, the first thing to go in people's life is usually area beautification and the little things. If the lawn is not done correctly, if the driveway is not blown up, if the bushes are out of whack, you don't see that unless you drive over there and see it. And if it's immaculate, because those little things where when your life is good, your bank account is good, when your health is good, you start looking at other stuff like, oh man, I need to change the paint on that. Right. And when you're so stressed out you can't afford your light bill, you don't give a flip that the paint is cracking on your pillars in your front yard. So if you're going to do a business deal, go drive in front of somebody's house and look at their area and look at how upkept it is. If it's kept up right, that guy's doing it. He's making it, and that could be a good business decision for you to go into business with that person. So that being said, you drive through the neighborhood, and it was going down, and we had a lot of renters that just didn't care about their property. A lot of homeowners who had left the community and rented out their homes, and now unfortunately they didn't care about other than that the rent check was on the first. Right. So I was thinking about moving out to a different city where my father had moved to. And the lady said no, and she convicted me. She said, if you see something wrong, you need to do something about it. And and those are some convicting words. And at the time, I had just got done with the military. I served 12 years, like I said. I was 35 years old, and I had just got out 2 years prior. And that message resonated with me because as a soldier, and typically only soldier and military people will understand this, making money is not a purpose. You need a purpose every day to get up and do what you do. Right.
It's a means.
Right.
You know?
And as a soldier, it's your duty. Like nobody wants to run towards an enemy shooting guns at them so that you can attack them and fight for your side. But it's a duty. You do it because of that. And I miss that. I miss that purpose. I miss the purpose of waking up, strapping on my boots, and doing what I was supposed to do, what I felt I was supposed to do. So it was cool when she had said that, and I thought about it. It was an opportunity to serve again. So I had went and I talked to my wife about it, and I remember 3 days later I asked her, "What do you think I should do about what that lady asked me to do?" And she said, "I knew you were going to do it. The minute she asked you, you can't say no to anybody." And so I called her and I said, "Listen, as a high school dropout that doesn't have a great education and a rocky past, I doubt I'm electable," because I didn't know what electable meant. At the time I didn't know politics, and you always think it's that clean-cut guy that has the
clean background,
yes,
right?
Clean background, and you always hear this: "I can't run for public office. I have skeletons in my closet. I don't have a degree from Yale, and I had none of that stuff. I had a lot of skeletons in my closet. Like I said a minute ago, went to jail for hanging out with the wrong crowd as a teenager, doing the wrong thing, but." God had other plans, and when God orders your footsteps, His will be done, and that's what I love. Is I had a friend tell me it's going to cost X amount of dollars to even raise campaign funds to run. The amount was $80,000. I think I raised like $3,000, and I basically walked into the office because the other guy that I was running against got disqualified. And it's just amazing because God will move mountains for you when it's His will and you're listening and obeying. And it was a whole different experience. And now looking back at the candidates that are thinking about running for office, I encourage them. We don't always need that clean cut Yale degree, no skeleton in the closet. We need life experiences from mentors that have been in the trenches, doing the hard work, starting the businesses, having to file for things like certificate occupancies, like we talked about, that are now at the legislative level, where you are the one in charge of how are other people supposed to navigate their life and their businesses. Well, when you've done it before, it's easy because you have experience. You have a lot of people that maybe you went through college and you got this degree, but you've never actually stepped foot in a business to run that business or set things up to know how to do it.
Right.
I always think the best teacher is experience.
Absolutely.
So I just encourage people that are thinking about public office, don't worry so much about the rocky past. If you've overcome that, there's erasers on pencils for a reason. Everybody has made mistakes. So as long as you've changed and you've learned and you've grown and you're not going to make that mistake again, I say, who cares about that? We're all better people because of our experiences. So I went back and I told the lady I would do it. And like I said, God's plan worked out. I got elected. Was named the first Latino commissioner in the history of the parish. But then that's where the rubber met the road. I didn't know anything about politics. I didn't know the way things went. And I know we're going to talk about leadership. One really funny thing before we move on, legislators are in charge of a lot of finances. Realistically, when you get in public office and people don't know exactly what politicians do, think of them as a glorified boardroom, as board members that are running an organization. Like you would see a huge corporation that has the chairman and they got the board members, and you steer that ship on how that ship is supposed to go. Well, you're in charge of the budget and you're in charge of how the operations are going to be laid out. It's not, I think, what a lot of other people think, where they see the people on television and they're yelling at each other. That gets nothing accomplished. Right. At the end of the day, regardless of the political affiliation, the best part and how things really get done is when the opposing sides come together and meet in the middle and start figuring out, this is what's best for this organization, for this city, for this state, for this parish. Because if that doesn't happen, then nobody's happy, because you're in constant turmoil, and a house divided will never succeed. Right. And it's true in politics. It's true in our home. Business. Everything. It's true in business. So I implore more people to look at political office and get in there that can work with others. Not just to go in there and say, I want to go in public office because I want to defend my side. Right. You have to work with other people. Right. It's a shame how politics, I guess, at a national level have become so divided, and the people have become so divided where, it's now me against my countrymen. Yes. Instead of us together, trying to rise together. That's another reason why I love when soldiers get into public office, because when I was overseas in Iraq and we were in a Humvee and the enemy was shooting at us and we were shooting back trying to rescue our other comrades, it was never about, is he black and white? Is he Hispanic? Is he a Republican? Is he Democrat? When you're in a foxhole, none of that stuff matters.
Right.
At the end of the day, this guy's got the same uniform as me on. He's an American. That's it.
Right.
It boils down to that. And we're in it together for our country. That should supersede all that political rhetoric. And it should dial down to all the people in this chamber, whether it be federally or from the state. This is our state. This is our country. We're all working together for the common goal. So I hope in the coming years we start to amend those differences.
I hope so as well. And I think it's going to take a lot of us, a lot of our leadership, a lot of our people to start coming together, starting to realize how we got to stop being crabs in a bucket. We can't keep pulling each other down. So you served in the military for 12 years.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, absolutely.
So in those times in your life, you talked about how you had a fear of not thinking you were electable because of background. Yep. Tell us some other fears that you had to go past throughout your career.
Absolutely. And there's always fear. And fear is what I find is it holds so many people back. Now that I've been in business for about 17 years, I think we're sitting at around 3,000 businesses that we've set up to accept credit cards. And we've done this nationally. So we don't just have the Shreveport market. We have clients all over America. And what I've noticed that's synonymous with almost every business owner, new business owner, is the fear to take that first step. And I find myself telling them this all the time. Do you know the difference between an entrepreneur and a dream? And it's execution. And that's the thing is most people, they think they have to get it all together. Just like when you're running for politics, you think you need the plaque on the wall, you need a clean cut.
The jail degree.
Right. They think that they have to have that plan all written out and they have to have every contingency.
Before they can take action.
Right, before they can take action. And they're frozen in fear. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're going to start a little bakery or if you're going to open up a retail shop or you're going to start a radio podcast show. The best, and I know you'll agree with this, the best lessons that you learned have been on-the-job training.
Absolutely.
When you just start it and then something pops up, because you can never anticipate all the things that are going to pop up, but they do. And your goal is to learn from them, pivot, not make the same mistake, and grow from them. And it's truly the successful people that I know that I'm friends with that have learned over and over and over again from their mistakes on how to be a better entrepreneur, a better business owner. And then the coolest part is when I see those people taking up other young entrepreneurs under their wing and teaching them and mentoring them. The thing that I stated a minute ago about the 5 millionaires, and if you hang out with them, you'll be the 6th. You're going to be scared. And if I can leave anything with the viewers on this is don't worry about that fear. Go align yourself with people in that same industry and ask them to help you. Ask them to mentor you. Because successful people are not going to say no. When I meet a new business owner, I love asking them this. And I ask them, how did you build this? Like if I asked you, and we won't do it today because I know it's going to take 2 or 3 hours, but if I said, how did you build 318 Latino?
A lot of sleepless nights.
It's right. But it's your passion and this is your baby. Talk to any mom about their kid and their eyes are going to light up and they're going to tell you about how great their kid is. That's just like us as entrepreneurs with our baby. Our business started from nothing. It was a thought in its infancy, and it cultivated into a full-grown adult that is a successful business. And all you want to do is tell people about how proud you are of it and teach other people how to be a great parent as well.
Right.
So that's the thing is when you have that fear, put it aside. And it's scary, it really is, because you look at how are you going to make ends meet. But if you work hard enough, success is right on the other side of that, and you can always find mentors that'll help you succeed as well.
incredible. I mean, it's credible because it happens.
Yes.
But it is very, very important for us to get ourselves out of our comfort. I think even people who are in business get to a certain point where they got into the first steps of, all right, now I'm getting some money in, now I can be okay, now I'm going to settle. But even that is a step towards backwards. You know, if you're not going forward, you're going backwards.
Right.
So, and I think once you become, I guess, successful enough and you have something to lose, that's a whole nother fear.
Yes.
You know, now you think, all right, now if I start moving too much, if I start doing more here, more there, I can lose what I've already built.
You know, it's funny you said that complacency is the killer of success. Mm-hmm. And I say that because I can't tell you how many sales guys that I've trained up and mentored, and sometimes a little bit of success is the worst thing. And I say that because these guys that I've trained, they've gotten to a point where they're making X amount of dollars, and everybody has their comfort level, mm-hmm. where you hit that level and you're like, okay, I've made it.
Bills are paid.
Right. And I tell you, and I'm guilty of that too. As a young entrepreneur, I was guilty of that too. Mm-hmm. When I got to the point where I had the car that I wanted and I had the office that I wanted, you know, a lot of people like, you know, it's so inward. Mm-hmm. You look at, you know, what's good for you, and once you think you've achieved that, then you kind of relax and you're just comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I have this huge saying on our wall at our office, mm-hmm. and it's Winston Churchill, and he said it. He said, "You make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give." And I have that on the wall for a reason, because it was at this turning point when my employee was able to buy her first new car. And I saw that new car in the parking lot, and I realized that it's not about my new car. Mm-hmm. It's about her new car.
Right. And
it's about their new cars and helping them achieve their dreams. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem with that little bit of success is a lot of entrepreneurs, mm-hmm. they'll get to the point where it's just about them. But once you can push past that and realize that mm-hmm. your true success, like the 10 times of what our company's making now, when it was just me on myself, but me helping these other people succeed.
Right.
Now I look at our company, I'm like, man, I'm so glad I just didn't rest when I thought I had made it. But then when I realized that it's my goal and my job to now help other people make it, mm-hmm. now the company is so much better and I can expand and help even more people, and that needs to be the goal.
Absolutely. I was reading a book recently titled The Cycle of Leadership. It talks about just that. It's how... So it mentions how there's companies that are outsourcing CEOs because we're not creating enough leaders here. So there's companies that are outsourcing CEOs from other countries to come in and create that leadership scheme, to create leaders within leaders. You know, the people that are going to be, because even as a CEO, you can't manage yourself. You know, you can't micromanage everybody. Right. You have to create the right structure and helping those people, teaching them, you know, helping them become good leaders. Yes. Will in turn trickle down.
Oh, I agree 100%. I've heard it said, you as the CEO, as the president, as the boss, you can't work in your business. You have to work on your business.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know what that means until they get to the point where they realize mm-hmm. your job is people. Mm-hmm. And when you train up people and you encourage people, and your job is now to build better people, mm-hmm. teach them how to be better salespeople, technicians, whatever it is that they're doing. Mm-hmm. You help them achieve their goals by being better at their job, and you really build them up. And it's funny because this entire segment is on fear, but that's what building people up is. Mm-hmm. It's removing that fear and letting them know that they can do it, right. and show them how you did it. And sometimes, and I love doing this because a lot of people, they don't like to talk about their colorful background, mm-hmm. Because sometimes it's embarrassing. You know, we don't want to talk about, you know, like I was living in the streets, I was running with the wrong crowd. You don't want to talk about stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But when you talk to your employees and you tell them, mm-hmm. and they see your success, but they don't see the struggle, but you let them know the struggle's there, mm-hmm. and that you encourage them that you can do it too, mm-hmm. well, it wipes away that fear in them, and they look and see, well, if that guy did it, that mm-hmm. high school dropout did it, right. I can do it too.
Right.
And you strip that fear away, and now you have successful, capable, mm-hmm. fearless employees and an amazing company.
So let's take it back to that fear. For those of us who have struggled with that. I know there's still many people out there living paycheck to paycheck, thinking I can't leave this job, thinking I can't start my own business, thinking if for some reason something happens, I'm done. How do we get over that fear? What is the biggest step that we have to take, the biggest leap of faith, I guess, that we have to take in order to abolish that, to think, all right, this is happening. I'm going to take ownership of it. I'm going to do something about it.
That's faith. And that's what I think a lot of our people lack. But it's faith. And like I said, when I was in jail, and the only book you have in there is the Bible. I started reading the Bible, and I started realizing I can't do it on my own. So I prayed, and I prayed for faith, and then I had the faith, and with faith comes hope that it can be better. And God is always a rewarder of those that diligently seek Him. And I started diligently seeking Him, and then I just saw the heavens open up and opportunities arise. And that's, I think, what a lot of people, when they have that fear, it's because they don't have the faith. They don't have the faith in themselves, and they don't have the faith that somebody else cares enough about them to change their life. But there is. It's a good God. He's a good God. He did it for me, and I see it time and time again where He opens up the heavens and just starts bringing in favor that you would not believe. A lot of people, they've heard the story of when God dropped manna from heaven. And a lot of people think that word manna means bread. They thought God was giving provisions of bread. But it's not. If you look at the Hebrew word of what manna actually means, it means what? Like, what? They literally said, what? Like, how is bread falling from heaven? So when people are so discouraged that I'm in this dead-end job and I see no avenue out of it, that's where faith comes in. When you have nothing left and you lean to Him and you say, I'm going to trust in you. I'm going to trust in your way, and it's going to all work out. I mean, I can look at my life and say, there's no other way but God. So when that manna starts falling in your life, when you get that phone call to where you're thinking, I'm only getting $10 an hour, somebody says, hey, look, I see how hard you've been working. I see how friendly you are. I see that you're the type of person that needs to be in management. That's the what? That's the manna. And it will come, but you have to have faith. And I know I go to church. I love my pastor. He's always preaching on, if you want friends, you have to first find yourself friendly. So if you want more responsibility, don't wait for it. Go out there and find it. And that may be, if you're currently, let's say you're a cashier at a corner store, and your job is to just take the money. What would happen if the boss walks in and the entire place is spotless and you cleaned it on top of your cashier duties? I know you yourself, just like I would, as the boss, I'd say, this person doesn't deserve to just be the cashier. This person saw something and went above and beyond. So it's up to us to push back that fear, look at our current situation, walk by faith, and start striving for that position that we know we deserve to be in. Not wait for it, but figure out where you're currently at and work towards that.
Absolutely. It's about making that firm decision.
Yes.
It's about us. I think to a certain degree, desperation can either make or break us.
Very 100%.
And if you fall deep enough, you're going to find that pivotal point where you're going to make that decision.
Yes.
But with faith, it's easier.
Oh, it is. It gives you something to hold on to. And I've heard this say, success is right outside your comfort zone. A lot of people will not be uncomfortable for a little while to live in comfort later. When I took the job that I took to start this business, Ryan, I kid you not, I was so broke for like 4 years. There was literally days where I would walk to work, and people don't know this. They don't know that I had a briefcase and I had a cheap suit on. And I would walk to businesses around my house because I couldn't afford to drive there because I didn't have gas to put in my car. But I was uncomfortable for 4 years to be comfortable later. And everybody wants to start at the top and they want that comfort now, but they're not willing to be uncomfortable. I have a current employee. He lived with his father-in-law for 3 years with his 3 kids. That's uncomfortable.
Very.
That's humbling. But now he's so successful. I laugh because people look at him and they're like, I want to be like him. I'm like,
do you want to go through what he went through?
Because even myself personally, I don't think I'd want to live with my father-in-law. And I love him, but for 3 years,
right?
And,
they don't understand the sacrifices,
that's the kid's sacrifices.
I think again, that fear, that comfort, that. Yeah, it's got a lot to do with that. But there's another side to that. So I think realizing that the world and age we're living in, where everybody, like, we want to be the man without being the man.
Right.
You know, we want to show off this lifestyle of being great and amazing. And we put ourselves in debt buying cars and things that we can't yet afford in order to look like the man, or to try. And I don't know if that's a part of society or if it's a fear within us of thinking, all right, I don't want these people not knowing, you know, that I have to walk to work, or knowing that I don't have this amazing car yet. So I'm going to put myself out of fear in this debt. I'm not going to make the right choices.
And worse off.
Right.
Worse off for it.
Right. That's one of the biggest fears that I see nowadays, is fear of what people think.
Acceptance. It's fear of acceptance.
Right. How do we stop that? Because I fell trapped to that. You know, as soon as I started getting a little success here on 318 Latino, I started going towards that route of spending money at places that I didn't need to be spending at.
Right.
That was a horrible choice by myself, by me, because it halted growth here. Instead of me investing in the business, I invested in uplifting an ego.
Right. You invested in yourself, which isn't really invested.
Well, it wasn't invested in myself. It was invested in my ego. It was invested on what other people thought about me. It's a horrible choice. Worst money I will ever have spent and wasted.
Yes.
But I learned from experience, you know, how can we get people to realize that before they go out there. I know school doesn't teach us this. School doesn't teach us about life. School teaches us history, math, English, and that's about it. But these are life lessons that we need to get somehow. And I think, unfortunately, because of the lack of parenting, because of the lack of a lot of things, we're not getting it until a later age.
You're right.
Life isn't teaching us until we're by ourselves broken down.
I think you're right. And unfortunately, nowadays, with the generations coming closer together, because you used to have a good 20-year gap between the parents and the children, and now that gap is decreasing. I'm led to quote Kanye West, believe it or not.
Go for it.
And he actually, I love Kanye's journey, where he's come, and just that he's sold out for Jesus is the coolest thing. But he said, people nowadays are more worried about looking successful than being successful, and it's the truth. I know as a young entrepreneur, and I made that same mistake. I used to look at the guy in the fancy car, in the great suit, and think that was success. But as I've progressed in my business, I've realized I have one friend that's a billionaire, and I think he may be my only billionaire friend. But by looking at him, you would think he didn't have two pennies to rub together. And he wears old busted up shoes, and he doesn't care about that stuff. And the older I get, the more that I realize that it's not about that appearance of acceptance, but that's what society's teaching us.
Right.
That's what consumerism is teaching us. And the only way to combat that is to do the one-on-one, the mentorship, the influence of the younger generation, to show them. Like I drive a Honda Accord, and I love my Honda Accord. And my wife, she had a Honda CRV at the time, and my son's girlfriend, now fiance, she came to our house one day, and she asked my wife this. She said, "How come y'all drive Hondas? Why don't you drive a Land Rover?" And it was funny because she was just so blatantly honest about the question. But she followed up with, "Y'all are business owners." Her reason for us should drive a Land Rover was that we were business owners. And my wife, she's awesome. She didn't miss a beat. She said, "Because we're business owners, we drive Honda Accords. Because we invest our money into the businesses, not into some fancy car. My Honda Accord gets me around just as good as any other car.
Right.
And this was a lesson that I had to learn the hard way, because just like you, I got to the point where I was making a little bit of money, and sometimes a little bit of success is the biggest issue. I went out and bought a little sports car. I think I was 25, 26 years old. And it was a Saturn. It was like this 2-door sports car. It looked like a little Corvette. Super cool. Saturn made it for like 2 years. They were called Saturn Skies. Love this little car. And I thought, I made it. I'm going to drive a convertible sports car. Should have never bought it. But I pulled up at this location, and this gentleman said, I can't afford what you're buying. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, you drive a sports car. And I was like, oh, man, it's a Saturn. He's like, it's a sports car. I can't afford it. And he literally dismissed me, and we didn't have the meeting. And I am so thankful that I lost that business, because the life lesson that it taught me, I went back to my house, because I didn't have an office. I was officing out of my house. And I said, you know what? If image is everything. And a lot of people, they want to portray their image as successful. What a true successful person is smart with their money. And they do what's economical. So I literally Googled, what are the top 3 outside salesmen's cars? And I went and bought one of those. And I have made more money driving a Honda Quarter-Round than I ever would have made driving a sports car. And it was the coolest life lesson. And to this day, I can afford whatever car that I want now, but I still drive that Honda Accord because I remember at a 26-year-old me that guy taught me the lesson of I need to be conscious of what I'm driving, because other people are looking.
Man, buying a vehicle is so important for anybody nowadays, because I wish we had much better public transportation here in Shreveport.
Right.
We really need it. In Mexico, it's everywhere. I think it's probably the main way of transportation in Mexico. Yes. But here, man, if you don't have a car, it's so hard for you to make it.
It is.
I know in my personal experience recently, I was thinking about buying a new truck. I have a 2016 Toyota 4Runner. It's a little busted up. It's been through some stuff. I love the car. I love it to death. I kind of want to run it till the miles run off. But I was really getting one of my friends, who is probably one of my biggest influences. He kept telling me, you're a business owner now. You deserve a better car. You deserve something nice so you can, now you're going to go do interviews with the mayor and stuff like that. You need to show up in something classy. You need to go get you a truck, a brand. And he kept getting into my head that dream of, all right, I'm gonna roll up and have this nice truck. And I went, looked at them, priced it, got quoted. But what really got me was the salesman, when I was making the decision and thinking of looking at different things, the salesman telling me, what do I need to do today to get you into a truck? And I'm like, you're really that desperate to sell me a truck? Yeah, that's like life telling me, you're going to buy this truck because we're forcing you to buy this truck. Like we're making it as sweet as possible for you. You got the outside influence, and now we got this salesman telling you you're going to get a truck today. You don't, but then me realizing I don't need it.
Right.
I have a vehicle that takes me from A to B with no problem, has no check engine light. It works. It's perfect. It's like, it doesn't look the best, but it works great.
Yes.
And I have no need for a new vehicle right now. Why are you spending this money? It was a life, I walked away from it. I know I could have gotten that truck right then and there. I had the money to put the down payment. But I was going to put myself into $1,000 a month debt with the truck and the insurance combined, that would have very likely, put me very behind.
Yes.
So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that I made that choice, because, in my lifetime, I've been very impulsive before, but I'm very proud that I made that choice. And that's the other part. So we have two things that are driving us constantly. We have fear, and then we have desire.
Yes.
We have these wants, these little knickknacks that we're going to think are going to make us a better man, a better person. They really don't.
And they're both emotion.
They are.
If we dial down deep, they're both emotion.
Right.
They're how we feel. And I think that's where the mentorship comes into play. Because how we feel is only momentarily. Because let's face it, a week later, you may have gone off-road with your 4Runner and had a blast.
Right.
And then you go there and you're like, you know what? If I'd had that new truck, I wouldn't have gone off-road because I've been worried about scratching it. But I had an absolute blast, climbed up to Alberts Pike in Arkansas. I love this car. I didn't even go, I'm sorry, car. I wasn't going to trade you in.
Right.
I just had a momentary lapse.
Right.
and it's all emotion where, we're so forced to look at what everybody else is doing and what they're wearing and think that we need that too for the acceptance to feel better about ourselves. But when you sit down with people that truly care about you, with those mentors that can look and say, "Nah, your car's good. It's great. Like, this is what you need to focus on." And I literally just left a meeting with a friend of mine who told me, and he's an older guy. He's about 3 or 4 decades older than us. He told me if he'd have done it all over again, every time he would have went to buy a new car, he would have bought a new property. Because for that $1,000 a month house, a car that you were going to buy, you could have been paying for a house note.
Right.
And that house note could have been somebody in that house that could have flipped that house note from you paying that $1,000 a month to the bank to them paying you $1,300 a month, paying that $1,000 a month bank note off.
And you got a profit. Right.
And now you're getting an extra $300 in your pocket as they're paying off that bank loan, and you're building your retirement.
Note to self.
Yeah. But I kid you not, I just recently purchased a shopping center. And it's interesting as you grow and you become this entrepreneur, these doors that open up, and that's what I was saying about when you're the cashier, when you're down here, you can never see this. But if you have the faith of a mustard seed, he will move mountains for your life so that he gets the glory. And I love it because it's nothing of what I've done. It's just that I've been positioned with all these mentors that have taught me what to do, like to buy the property, to get all these guys to pay the bank note. So now I walk away every month with a $2,000 check on top of the bank note getting paid off on this property that's going to be paid off in 15 years. And I never thought about buying a shopping center. The whole reason I bought it was I needed a place for my wife's new restaurant to go into. And the real estate agent said, listen, here's a good spot. It's got 2 other buildings. It's got 3 other tenants. But listen, if you buy this, they'll just pay the bank note off and it won't cost you a dime. And I'm like, wow, I'm looking for another place to increase my rent for my wife. And instead of increasing the rent, it's going to be absolutely free, and then I get a check. So this is...
Man, that's a big lesson from the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, learning the difference between an asset and a liability.
Oh, that's huge.
Oh, my God. First time I read that book, I was in awe. That's the only way I can describe it. I was so amazed of all these things that I never realized made me take a look at myself and my business and how I'm running things and realizing I'm still looking at things, or at the time, I'm still looking at things through the eyes of an employee. I'm still looking at things through the eyes of somebody who is thinking there's going to be a command being given by somebody else. Instead of me making the decision, me going out, me learning sales, me learning the things that are going to make me grow.
This I've heard it said, the employee knows how, the boss knows why. And if you can dissect that,
absolutely, it's a book by Jocko Willink called Extreme Ownership, where he talks about him having he was a Navy SEAL, and he had his leadership, the people above him, kept asking him for reports on what they were doing in order for them to do missions. They needed like a lot of extra permission before they went out and ran these missions. And they talked about how they got fed up of getting asked all these questions before they could go out doing this. So they realized, hey, let's lead up the chain of command and invite them to come over here and see how we're running things. That in turn creates more trust in them, knowing why we're doing things the way we're doing them. And it'll show them it's basically, leading up the chain of command. It's kind of taking ownership of why these questions are being asked is because I'm not giving you enough information. So come over here and let me, tell you what's happening. And
then leadership appreciates the guys down there. And an appreciated person will always do more. And then the boss doesn't have to worry about it because he knows. they're happy.
Right.
I'm proud of them, and then they know it's communication at the end of the day. Now you got it. That's pretty cool.
Mr. Chavez, I'm so happy to have you here today. Before we leave, I'd like to ask you, for somebody that's right now, working day in, day out, month to month, the bills don't stop coming. They're thinking they're stuck in life. Give us right quick the biggest tips you can give these people in order to, first of all, overcome fear, and second of all, find an interest into finding financial success.
That's actually that's a great question, and this is what a lot of people don't think about. I've noticed the trend with successful people. It's very easy. Wake up early. Don't stop learning. Don't be happy with where you're at, but do the most what you can and strive for more. And what I've noticed is all the successful people I've ever encountered, they had that faith to be more successful, but they didn't wait for it. They went out to get it. So push the fear aside. If you normally wake up at 7 in the morning, get up at 5. Start reading. There's things that in your industry that you don't know that you don't know. There's 3 categories in life: the things you know, things you don't know, and the things that you don't know that you don't know. The third category is the biggest. So in your specific industry or your career, your profession, whatever that is, start learning to be better at that and figure out, is that really what you want to do? Because I found a lot of people, they're just going through the motions of making money, and they're trading their time for money. When at the end of the day, you've heard it said, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Right. Your job, my job is people. I love hanging out with people. And if you can figure out, A, what do you love? And then how can you capitalize on that? Or how can you turn that into revenue? How can you figure out, if I love working on cars and you learn how to be the best mechanic, your intellectual property or your IP is working on cars and doing something specific, and other people will pay you for that. So how do you now change your passion into profits? And that's what you have to start looking at, is I need to focus on being a better version of myself, and that takes a lot, mind, body, and soul. Start going for a jog, start reading books, start focusing on, because we all can be a better person. We can all be a better version of ourselves. I think our daily goal should be, how can I be a better me tomorrow than I was yesterday? And that's obviously reading, exercise, nutrition. You put better fuel in the tank, you're going to get better output. Now, what's my passion? How am I a better person? How can I make myself a better person? Now, how can I work towards my passion? Because everybody has one. Right. Everybody loves something. There's 24 crayons on a box. There's a different color for everybody. Once they figure out what that passion is, then chase after it, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. So, high school dropout, walking to work with a briefcase and a crappy suit from Burlington Coat Factory. No offense, Burlington Coat Factory.
Oh, I had the same one, man.
And
mine was forgivable.
Well, and I kid you not, I still wear suits that are like from the discount store. Yeah. And like, I have friends that laugh at me like, now you can afford them. I'm like, I know, but that's irrelevant. Because does it really matter? Right. So that's it. It's focus internally, be the better person, and then chase your passion, and don't worry about the fear. Everyone's going to tell you can't do it. I can't tell you how many people told me not to quit working at the phone company to go chase my dream. 10 years later, my boss that told me I should have never quit, he said, man, you made the best decision in your life. He's like, I'm sorry for telling you don't do it.
It's incredible. Mr. Chavez, again, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for teaching us. I hope it's not the last time.
No, I'll definitely come back.
And before we head out, if anybody's looking for a credit card company, how can we reach out for you?
Online, we're MRSA, MERSA, which is kind of funny. That's a deadly hospital virus. MRSA, we didn't know back when we named it, but it's basically merchant and services put together. MRSAtech.com. We're here in Shreveport, Louisiana, but we can help facilitate your needs anywhere in America.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here with us today. This has been an interview with Mr. Mario Chavez, and thank you so much for being with us. Don't forget, let's beat fear.